All right. Start where
March
we began.
1998. I went out to my son's school the day of the Jonesboro massacre. It wasn't his school, it was the other school. I went to the other school, I offered my help. They said, thank you, we know who you are, we need you. We applied the lessons of the battlefield, mass critical incident debriefing in my own hometown. Now, the killers pulled the fire alarm and sucked the girls' PE class out of the gym and then gunned down 13 little girls and 2 teachers. An 11 and 13-year-old boy pulled the fire alarm, sucked them out into the kill zone, and mercilessly, savagely gunned down 13 little girls and 2 teachers. We were in the gym that night, planning for the next day. Right outside that gym door, the blood is still congealing. We're the all-time record juvenile mass murder in human history, prior to Columbine. Jonesboro was the all-time record juvenile mass murder in human history. It just occurred. Late that night, one of the counselors came in from the hospital. She had to debrief. You can imagine what it was like in that hospital. Over a dozen families in sobbing masses. She said this one lady comes in and she's the only one alone. No friends, no family, no husband. Nobody had come to the hospital room, the emergency room of the hospital with her. She sits down and staring off the distance. This counselor comes up to her and drops down on one knee and takes her hand and said, can I help you? She said, they called me. They called me. They told me. My little girl's dead. My little girl's dead. She's one of them that was killed today. She said, I just want to know, how do I get my baby back? What am I supposed to do to pick up the body? They explained to her, all the ones been killed today have been sent to the state hospital in Little Rock, 100 miles away for autopsy. When they were finished with their baby's body, they would call her, and she could tell them what funeral home to ship the body to. She said, funeral home? Funeral home? We can't afford a funeral. We can't even afford a funeral. That little girl was all that mama had in all the world. There was no friends, there was no family, there was no husband. There's nobody in all the world but a mama and her baby. And this morning she hugged her baby, alive and warm and vital. The most precious thing on the planet. Not knowing it was the last time. And she sent her baby off to school, trusting us to keep her safe. And even all that mama wants in all the world, to wrap her baby's cold body in a blanket and take her home to an empty house. And we failed that mama. In Jonesboro, and Pearl, and Paducah, and Springfield, and Littleton, and Edinburgh, and Santee, and San Diego, and Moses Lake, and Bethel, Alaska, and Red Lake, Minnesota, and Columbine High School, and Sandy Hook. We failed, but we will not fail again. As we love our children, as we love our way of life, we've got to lead them home to the dark and tragic place which we traveled.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for all the research that you've done. Thank you for all of the police officers that you've trained, all the military that you've trained, and all the truth that you have told. I imagine, I know you've been on 60 Minutes and 2020 and TV shows, and I've done some of those shows myself, and I know what it's like to sit across from somebody who you know doesn't care or buy into it.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that this audience cares, that this host is grateful, and I hope that we had a long conversation today, and I think that we can do an awful lot of good to connect people and find, as I wrote in our note to you, non-obvious allies to wake people up.
Yeah.
Wake people up. And I want you to know that if you've watched this show every night, you watched me with Ray Kurzweil, who's now the head of artificial intelligence. We are about to enter a brave new world. Much, much different than what you ever imagined. And I feel it with everything in me. And so does he. And first step is to educate yourself. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And then we're going to fill out those 5 steps, and hopefully by this spring we'll be a different people and leaders on this topic.